Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Network Hour podcast. I am your host, Molly Crease, and today I have a special guest with me. You have no idea how hard it is to get this person, but I am honored that they found some time to sit down with me to talk. And so I want to welcome our special guest, Mr. Nerville Barrington. How are you today, sir?
First of all, I'm never too busy for you, so let's just put this out there. It's a great pleasure to be with you. I'm so proud and so happy all your accomplishments, and happy to be sitting down talking with you today. So, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, just a little bit about uh, this guy, this person in front of me. He is the chairman of the Barringtons of Brooklyn LLC, with holdings in Bccelerator Inc., and we will hear more about that soon. He's the COO of TekAvenir Group Government Contracting, COO of the Blaque Net App, VP of Baby Inc., VP of Marketing and Communications for the National Black Mba New York Metro Chapter, and he earned a BS from CUNY Brooklyn College and an MBA from Rutgers Business School. So you see why it's hard to get her. All of this stuff, I don't know how one person can get through all of this stuff, but okay. So, Nerville, first off, we want to talk. Tell me, and I do this with all my guests. Tell me a networking story that really stood out to you.
Uh, I would say there was a networking event where it was it was in the beginning of my career, and I'm a people person. I'm 100% extrovert. Um, and I got into a room in a space where I knew no one, and no one looked like me. And it took me about 2 minutes to figure out if I'm really going to come to this event and really accomplish my goals, I'm going to step outside the box. And I really had to make sure that I was uncomfortable being uncomfortable in this present space. Because again, most of the individuals now look like me. And it's just started with one person, to another person, to another person. And then what I realized is that in this particular situation, I could have actually left. I could have actually came to this event and really maybe stood for about 5 minutes, paid my money, and then went home. But through me really challenging myself, I really realized that in order to really be in it, you have to put yourself in it in order to accomplish your goals, especially when it comes to networking, because networking is an art, as you well know. There's some things that you really got to make sure you are comfortable with, and being uncomfortable in a situation where you don't know anyone, you don't know anyone that kind of looks like you can really damage yourself long term. So put yourself out there. I'm glad I actually did. So going forward, that really kind of set the tone for just really making sure that regardless of what the situation is, if I'm at an event, I'm I'm networking effectively, and that's really making sure I'm uncomfortable and being confident in myself.
Yeah, I've definitely been in those positions where I'm the only one in the room, and you have to try and really network. So that's an awesome story. So tell us about who Norville is. Who is Mr. Barrington?
So I mean, to the core to me, um, I'm a creator. I've realized about myself and everything that I've done in my career, everything that I've done personally, um, family wise. I love to create. Professionally, it really just comes by way of just the skills that I've acquired over the course of years, some innate skills and things that I've learned professionally, socially, and come in terms of marketing, in terms of theater, acting, really being able to manage personalities, but also get the best out of people. One of the things that I'm proud of, and I've learned this about myself, is that I'm a risk taker, because I grew up in an environment where if you didn't take risks, you would stay in the same position that you're in. And I think successful people take calculated risk. Some of the risks I've taken before in my life were they weren't calculated, but I at least took the risk. So I'm definitely a risk taker, and I would say above everything else, I'm a visionary. Being able to look at spaces where there's nothing there and be able to create something, both from the strategy perspective, but also the implementation. Some people say one thing, but they're not hands-on as well. So you got to be able to do both. So, you know, I'm a creator, I'm a visionary. I love people. I love to see our people win. And at the heart of it, I think we're all called for a purpose, and the purpose is higher than us. As long as that purpose is bigger than you, and that is for me. That's what I'm driven by. I'm driven by people and driven by things that are bigger than me.
So what does it mean to you to be, what does it mean to you to be a Black man in America today, both personally and professionally?
For me, I've learned over the years, even recently, that being Black as a Black man is I'm being looked at as a Black man. I think that's first off. I think when it comes to Black people, it's really about how people identify us sometimes, in most cases. To the core of me, I'm Guyanese, Caribbean background. So there's little dynamics. So there's different cultures within Black. But I kind of work in the space of understanding how people view me first, and then also going down to the different, you know, the segments of being Black, whether you're African American, whether you are Native African to America, whether you are a person that's from the continent of Africa, recently coming here, or you're Caribbean. So I look at it from those particular realms, and for me, it's very it's eye-opening it's eye-opening professionally and personally how social and economic factors affect all of what we think and what we do. So from the core of me, I think being Black is being able to understand the social economic factors of how people view you, how you respond to that, and what are the devices that are working against us. But also rejoicing who we are as a people. We're overcomers. We're people who have not only done a lot, but we also need to do more to hold ourselves accountable, to make sure we continue to move as a unit. And of course, we understand that that's not the case for everyone, but it's rough. It's rough. I can say it with a smile on my face. It is very rough. It's rough. Even at my age, I just turned 40. And I'm excited. I'm so excited. I'm not even in my prime. You cannot. I'm so excited. But I also know that in the next 20 years, there's a number of things that I want to accomplish. And I also understand that as a Black man, there's things that I want to be able to pour into other people, and also continue to learn it. You know, so, but it's difficult. It's difficult. It is really difficult. There's days where I feel like I feel defeated. Not that I am defeated, but you know, I feel the pressures of the world on me, and that part is something that you kind of have to shake off, but you have to acknowledge it. And I think lastly, I would say that as a Black man, being able to be in tune with you know, being in tune spiritual and mental and socially are all important. So you can't be one way somewhere, another way somewhere else. You really have to bring your whole self. So being a Black man, you really got to make sure that you are comfortable bringing your whole self and being able to manage those, you know, depending on where you're at. So it's great being a Black man. I love being a Black man, but it's also difficult. It's truly difficult.
Yeah, it is, and it's so important to have support. And when you have those times when you feel like you want to give up, you don't want to go anymore, that support there is very, very important. So talk about that support that you have, who, not necessarily to name names, but how is that support and how important is that support, even not just as a Black man, but as a professional, as a husband, as a father, and all those things.
So when I think about support, I start with, you know, I start with it spiritually, coming from God, and also being able to be in tune with what He wants me to do, and really leading on Him. At home, it's really my wife and my family. that really kind of ground me in terms of making sure that regardless of what's going on around, you're still a father, you're still a husband, you're still all these things that are important, which are good. Then have a core set of friends where you know what, no matter where you go professionally, wherever you go location wise, that base is the base that really reminds you of your journey. They remind you of your journey. And I think that's so important. And then you have people who have come in and really have made a double mark in my life. Those people professionally, socially, have really helped and propelled me as well. I don't lean on one base only. I think it's important to get different perspectives. And I think people have certain places in terms of how they feed you, how you support them, and how your relationship is. But they're all equally important. They're all important because they ultimately shape who I am. And I don't live on an island. So, you know, so even when it comes to our relationship, there's things that I lean from you, even without me even connecting with you, without even words being shared. And I think as you go through the journey of life, you have to adjust and you have to change some of those perspectives. And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but it just means that in this part of your life, in this part of your journey, there's a different voice, there's a different base that you need to kind of go to with your core being your core, but there's certain elements that have to change in order for you to develop. And that's, for me, that's something that I lean on more than people might even think. A lot of things that I say, a lot of things that I do, they're inspired by the people who inspire me, who push me, so I think that is crucial in the journey that I live.
Yeah. You talk about journey, and it just brought me to something. Last night, I was in a clubhouse room run by Curtis, and the topic was about running the race to get the prize. And so it was such an interesting topic because we were talking about your preparation before the race. And even when you're running the race, along the way, there are those people that are there to support you and to help you. First, there are your friends, your family, or fans that might be there cheering you on. And then there's the people that would be handing you out the bottles of water so that you stay hydrated and stuff like that. There's medic that is along the line on the way, that if you fall, they pay attention to you and you can get back up and continue to run the race. And so there are all these people along the way when you're running the race. And I think support is so important. Sometimes we think that we have to go at it alone, and we don't. So let's talk about your journey. Let's talk about your preparation aspect, and also let's talk about your journey from where you were to where you are now, and how you got there.
Wow, we'll be here for hours. But one thing I would say is, um, there's things within people that are innate, and there's things that need to be cultivated, and then there's things that you learn along the way. When I look at a race, for me, it's more of a marathon. If it is or a race, to me, is more of a season. And there's different games within the season, but ultimately the goal is to win a championship at the end. Some people just think it's just like a one-way, like a one-time interval, and that's it. And that's just not the case, because as you're developing, there's different challenges along the way. Professionally, I really started backwards. I really started thinking that I can use my the things that I know intuitively to really go into the professional world and really just um, be successful. And what I ended up learning was that there's a bigger game that you're working within. So what that meant for me was understanding that there's devices and there's things that will prevent you from moving up. So I actually had to take a step back from, not going to school and really understanding how the economics work of everything. And once I understood that, and also understand the social economics, and also understood where I lived and where I wanted to be, for me, education was important. So I actually end up working full time and going to school full time throughout my entire I would say my entire academic career. So that was really opportunity to start at BMCC and really start over and get my, and we say, I would say, tell people, wash your face and get your mind right. That really, and there's people there that really propelled me and helped me to get focused, because it was a focus thing. But as you get older, you have responsibilities. So now that plays into working and going to school full time. So I did that, went to Brooklyn College, went to school full time, worked full time. And you know, that's taxing if you live in New York City, a lot of people can attest to that. And then went to B school and did that full time and went to school full time. So I did a part-time program and I actually finished the program within 3 years while still understanding the entire game. And throughout each step of the way, there were different companies that I worked at, working at Geico, working at Allstate, working at Geico, doing marketing and advertising, realizing that there's something more to that. Then going to New York Times and now being part of a bigger corporation where people did not look like me. And for me, that was like showtime, but also realizing that, hey, that's just one piece of what marketing is. And I understood that if I'm going to be successful, I need to advance my career, and also to be successful in order to use it as a stepping stone. Going to B school was critical. So leveraging my experience, the work that I've done, and ultimately landing at Rutgers Business School was a big accomplishment. But when you go to B school, as you well know, that's just the beginning of the game. So understanding that ecosystem was just huge. And also understanding the salary ranges and negotiations and the skills that I've learned, that really propelled me to say, if I'm going to go to B school, and this is for anyone there, if you're going to do anything, how are you maximizing that opportunity? For me, I maximize the opportunity to get the most I can get, or based on the scale of what people graduate with the salary. I was able to do that. Was able to then intern at Mars Chocolate North America, working on a Dove chocolate brand. I was able then to go to get a career opportunity working, doing brand management at Mondelez Craft. I was working on I think one of the funniest things that happened to me when I started my career was one of the brands that I worked on Honey Maid and Teddy Grahams. And then one of the brands that they wanted to give me was Barnum's Animal Crackers. I'm like, oh, I used to eat this as a kid.
Yeah.
They told me, look, in brand management, people don't know this, there are about 3 or 4 people making decisions for a brand that you eat or a brand that you consume or use throughout the entire world. And I was the one person that was responsible for this one brand. I had other brands I was responsible for. They told me, hey, we're about to take off the string. They were like, look, we have some dynamics that we have to figure out. You need to figure out how we're going to change this packaging. And I was the person that took off the string off the actual carton and made it cardboard because of whatever reasons. I mean, it's a long story. And I realized, oh, wow, this is big. But then I realized there were bigger things that were happening. So I then said, you know what, if I'm going to go into brand management, if I'm going to be successful, I need to work on bigger brands. So I was able to do well on the s'mores campaign and national s'mores partnership with Hershey and Kraft. And then a big opportunity came by way of leading trips away from North America. And that came my way because someone actually, there was changes within the company, and there was a time period where I was able to run the whole entire gambit for a considerable amount of time. With all that being said, I just felt like there was just still more out there, but I needed to acquire the skills in order to prove that, one, I can do it. There's a critical learning lesson there, but also there's the entrepreneurship side. And throughout my entire career, I've acquired a number of innate opportunities, things that I've been able to do on my own, but there's professional things that you've learned. I call it training ground in order for me to start to be successful from my entrepreneurship side. The one piece here that I would mention here, now I'm at Blue Cross Blue Shield as a director, and I'm I'm doing strategy to create new innovations on the healthcare side and bringing in new opportunities to really look at the cost of care. I'm like, well, how does brand management, cookies, healthcare, all these things come into play? And it actually has. The opportunities that I've been presented over the last 3 years have really propelled me, which I want to share with you. But it's been a journey. There's so much within that. And I would say the one thing that has been consistent is that I started my career really doing theater. I really wanted to create stage plays. I wanted to be on Broadway. I wanted to be the next Tyler Perry. And even with that, there's a finance side, marketing side,
Yes.
management side, human resources side, stage manager side, equipment side, supply chain. There's a whole gambit when it comes to theater, but I really want to do theater, not knowing that it wasn't about theater, it was about creating. And throughout my career, I've been able to create and really be able to look at opportunities to see them not only for what they are, but how they can benefit people around me and myself included.
Wow. That's great. That's awesome. So you talk about all of this. Let's dive into the projects that you do and that you have going on. I especially want to talk about this one first because again, I was in another clubhouse room talking with a lot of different business people and entrepreneurs, and they were talking about the topic of promoting Black business and collaborating and coming together. And one of the things that came up was that crab in the barrel mentality and how can we overcome that, because there are people who want to think, oh, I don't want to teach you this, or I don't want to tell you this, or I don't want you to put you up on that game because I don't want you to go further than me. I don't want you to get higher than me. And one of the things that so I remember someone saying, she was like, oh, we need something like an app that can all the Black businesses can come together, whatever. And I was like, I sent her a message in the back channel and I said, I know someone who created an app like that. And that's the same, I think it was the day before, 2 days ago, I saw you posting about an app in relation to what they were talking about on Instagram. So I want you to talk about the Blaque Net App and talk about how it came into being and why you're a part of it.
So I think it starts with the fact that um, if you make $0 and you own 100% of the company, then you, at the end of the day, you have $0. Most people think that that crab in the barrel mentality is so poor because it is really truly collaboration, partnerships that allow people to propel themselves. And what I realized in my career, and I knew this instantly, is that you have to be around people that want to collaborate, who want to see things grow, people who want to hold on to their 100% of a dollar, that's totally, totally fine. And I had opportunities where partnerships really benefited both parties, especially when it comes to a common goal. I was able to connect with one of my business partners, named Angelica, who's the founder creator of the Blaque Net App, and we talked about the vision, and instantly we clicked. After many conversations, we thought this is a partnership that we really wanted to do. And the Blaque Net App was created specifically to really empower, promote, and advance sales for people, Black business owners, people of color, BIPOC. So that's critical because in this day and age where companies are being centralized, there's so, I don't want to say monopolies, but there's strong market shares with companies, especially as it relates to getting your word out and being able to have a platform that you can use freely to get your business out there. There's no business that's focusing on our people. So what we ended up doing was we went past just the business directory, past just, hey, here's a list of businesses, a real social app that really combines the engagement that you're used to and you're familiar with, the business directory, but also the opportunity for business not only to promote themselves, but businesses have classes to hold events on the app, for people to actually hire on the app through our career board, and ultimately for those businesses to now gain revenue, to actually a true e-commerce experience. We released the first beta of our app, and I'm happy to say that it is going very, very well. And for those of you who are listening here, try it out. We want you to check it out. It's on blacknet.com. The app is available on iOS and Google Play as well, so you can use it through your app store, or even use your desktop as well. And in the upcoming weeks and months, we're going to be releasing new versions as our resources gain and as we get more people on the app, you'll see where the intersection between various apps that you're used to will be very familiar. You'll be very familiar with not only this experience, but also see the benefit of doing that. So when it comes to people of color, I think it's very important for us to have a platform, us to have a say, but also to show the results. At the end of the day, the app has to work. It doesn't matter who owns it. Let's keep that also in mind. We are not, and I think people think that because you are a person of color, that you have to say, hey, come support me. We want you to use the app because we think it's just a really dope app. It just so happens that we focus on your community, which is our community,
Yeah.
and it's owned by Black people. So a lot of apps that we use are not Black owned. A lot of products that we use are not Black owned, but we use it because it's good. So I think that's something that we want to just, it's not about support. It's about making sure this is an app that works out for you as a business, as an engagement factor, and it happens to be Black owned. And then of course it focuses on our community. So definitely download the app. We have a lot of announcements. We have a town hall on October 25th. We'll be announcing some new big announcements on the town hall, on the app itself. And it's a great way to engage. And really, as a business, as a person of color has a business, an entrepreneur, a small business owner, this is a great platform for you, dedicated for Black business owners, people of color.
Definitely need to support that, and it works. It's so funny when I heard about Clubhouse and when Clubhouse came out, I was told that there was another app that was doing the same things that Clubhouse was doing that was Black owned, but no one was talking about it. So I think not only the app has to work, but we also have to show support and give our dollars back in our community instead of putting it elsewhere. But that's another topic for another day.
and keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. There's so much grace that's given to companies, products that we've used where you've used an app, and I'm going to call out maybe a larger app that probably everyone uses, but the infant stages, the app didn't look that way.
Mhm.
You know, some of the blogs that we listened to, they weren't as big as they are now, but we
No.
still, so there's evolutions, and there's but at the same time, there's still a standard that we should hold ourselves to make sure that, hey, at minimum, these apps need to do certain things. A business owner, if you're listening, if you're a business owner, you need to be able to deliver on what you say you're going to do, period. Small, big, medium, you need to deliver on that. Set the expectation of what you can deliver, and people will give you the opportunity for you to do well. But you have to set that expectation. If this is what you can do, then just do that thing and just do it really well. Don't take on more than you can chew, and don't promote yourself as bigger than you are.
Great advice. Great advice. Quickly, let's talk about I hope I'm pronouncing it right, the PBB
Yeah.
app. I had the opportunity to listen to a presentation when you guys were giving it, but just give us a short bit on that app as well.
So that app, that's digital neobank that really focuses on empowering the Black and Brown community to really use digital tools in order for you to make better financial decisions. Our bank is FDIC insured. You can use the debit card and 32,000 locations. I have the card. I use my card regularly. The best thing about this app is that, one, it integrates with all of your other banking apps. So you can actually put all your information by just linking your other external accounts into this app. And you will have opportunities to have free checking, free savings with us. It's a debit MasterCard. You can do transfers as well. And you also do roundup savings as well, which means that for every dollar that you spend, you can say, yo, you know what? I want to put 4 cents into savings, and it automatically does it by every transaction. And I think the coolest thing is that we have an algorithm that tells you, hey, you're spending too much on Uber Eats. You're spending too much of your revenue in a certain area. We've all done it, especially in this panorama that we all that we're living through. But ultimately, it's about better financial decisions, especially as it relates to people who who go to cash check in place and spend like 5-10% to cash their check, early direct deposit. by 2 months, I mean, by 2 weeks, I'm sorry, 2 days, 2 days. We now have NFTs as well. So if you're familiar with cryptocurrency and NFTs, we have non-fungible tokens where you can actually purchase them through our app as well. We have partnerships with the Masterminds of Hip Hop, announcement coming out. Allen Iverson has just signed on as well. So we're releasing some of his NFTs. So I'll be releasing that information soon. People like Snoop Dogg through our partnerships with TekAvenir, which is a NFT company as well. And we're also going to announce our cryptocurrency capabilities as well. What we've seen in this pandemic is that our radar as a people has risen. We now understand what stocks are and how to trade, and we've been using all these things that we've seen, but we've actually been executing on that. So in terms of crypto currency, in terms of managing your finances, especially when it comes to rewards itself, our bank is focused on doing so. And again, it's a free app. You get within 30 days, I'm sorry, within 3 days, 3 business days, you actually get your debit MasterCard. You can use your app just like any other app. I use it on a regular basis. And it's a great opportunity. And again, it's Black owned. So all the things that you would consider in your current app and all the monthly fees that you pay and transfer fees and overdraft fees, there's no fees like that on our app as well. So we want you to go to www.paybaby, that's PAYBBY.com, learn more about the company and all the things that we're doing. And again, that's another opportunity. Goes into the entrepreneurship side. A lot of people think that you have to be in a corner to create something, and not realizing that all these successful companies that have been created with a team of people. It's not just one person. You have ideas come from different places. And what I've done in my career is I've learned that in order to be successful, you have to put yourself in a position with your skills, your abilities, and your talents in order to make sure that you are solid on your own. But you had 2 solid people together, now you're starting to build a foundation. And you get another person, next to you know, you have a building, you have a 1-story building, 2-story building, next to you know, you have employees. My goal as an entrepreneur is not to have one employee, a solo proprietor. That's not, to me, entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is when you are able to hire 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100 people, 500 people, and those people are relying on you because you're the owner of the company. That is what we should aspire to be. And I know everyone is at different stages, but if you are just, if you're working for yourself, that's great, that's cool. But if you want to really change the way our society and our people and social economics of our community, I'll implore you to try to see how you could expand. If you're an accountant and it's you by yourself and you've been doing this for years, how to get an accounting firm? How can you start an accounting firm? If you're a doctor and you work pro bono, how can you start a private practice? These are conversations I think that are important in our community. We need to evolve. I won't say do better. We just need to evolve our thinking. There's more than we can do. You own a property, I own a property. You know what? Why don't we start a real estate investment group? Shout out to Vanessa and Larissa. Let's start an investment relationship group. One thing I would say is that without information from partners, I wouldn't be able to purchase the property that I just, that my family was just able to acquire last week. So those are things that we have to continue to do together. How can we really do this together?
That's amazing. Congratulations on buying that property. We can't end the discussion without talking about the National Black Mba and you being the VP of marketing for the National Black Mba. So let's take 2 minutes to dive into that. I know 2 minutes is short, but let's take 2 minutes to dive into that. Let's talk about the National Black Mba. How has it been for you and your position on the board and stuff like that?
So I have to say, my opportunity to start the National Black Mba when I was in the part of the cash program, which is now called the LOT program, which the person on the opposite side of this screen is responsible for the LOT program. Thanks for everything that you have done. I was a high school student within the cash program, not realizing that I was connected to the National Black Mba organization. That really set the stage for me to rethink my choices in life and how to propel myself. You know, the one of the greatest joys of my life is being part of this organization. People do not realize that our organization has been able to change the lives of people, not only financially, I think that's important, but also the support, the community, that I can reach out to people across the country and connect with them for anything. And those people are very supportive. Being a part of this board, Andrew Hamilton, I couldn't thank that brother for the opportunity, and for all the people who labor in service, because we know this is like a double full-time job serving on our chapter. We make sure that our members are getting the most out of our experience, and we put our members first. You know, it's one of the greatest joys of my life, to be honest with you. And I could say so much more. If you're not a member, if you're looking to advance your career, if you're looking at your lifestyle, if you're looking at leadership opportunities, education, looking to be a mentor, looking at entrepreneurship, go to www.nyblackmba.org and become a member, regardless of where you are in your career. This organization it continues to surprise me. And also, we have a lot to offer. So we don't have all the answers. So if you're looking to be part of an organization, a group of people who are really supportive of each other and really trying to propel our community going forward, please join, please reach out, please reach out, because we need people like you who are listening to really get involved. But it is hours and hours of work, and it's all labor of love. I mean, I could say so much more, but it is a true labor of love. And without National Black Mba, I can say I would not be speaking to you right now. There's so many different other different organizations, but let me just say this: without the National Black Mba as a focal point, as an opportunity to pivot and give me the opportunities, career opportunities, three of my last corporate positions all came from National Black Mba. And there were career opportunities, not jobs, career opportunities, which really just changed the landscape of my life. You know, so I mean, so much I can say, but it's really dear. It's really dear to my heart. It's an honor to serve. It is true honor to serve.
So I really have to ask you this question. I can't end the podcast without asking you this question, because I think it's so important it's going to be so important for people to hear, because they've listened to you talk about your journey, the projects that you're into, and all of that stuff. I really want you to talk about, to take 2 minutes, talk about some of the challenges that you've faced, because it's not all pie, cream, and roses. They're bumps in the road that you have to overcome. So let's say talk about 2 or 3 of the challenges you faced and how you overcame them.
So even recently, and I think it's important for people to really either mark that, like write down or record their journey, because I'm going to start doing that as well. I think one of the biggest things that we have to factor in is time and investment. It's very, very difficult to live a life where you are managing multiple things at the same time. And sometimes you have to pause. For me, pausing is praying. Sometimes it's just thinking out loud, and I have a whiteboard here. But one of the challenges that I faced here is family decisions versus entrepreneurial opportunities. When to buy the house, when to and not put that money into a business, or vice versa. I've had to add to that question. I've had to think about percentages of how to deviate money, time allocated, when to volunteer, when not to volunteer, when to say no. I've learned to learn to say no, and that's been really difficult for me. I'm not a person to say no. I'm gonna say, yeah, let's do it. Let's figure it out. I start saying no, and I started realizing that was a good thing for everyone. So one of the things that I'm gonna start doing here, and I'll share this openly with you, is really setting some time out to sleep. Really setting some time out for physical activities, working out, walking. that has been a huge challenge. And I think I'm in good physical shape, but as this, as you go on this journey, you start neglecting things like your temple, you know, your body. And that's something that's very, very important. So I say for me, that is going to be critical for me, especially because I didn't hit my prime yet and I'm 40. And I think that things are great. This COVID, this pandemic, this kind of has really just highlighted the fact that mental health, physical health, and being true to your true beliefs and just saying no is really the obstacles. I think the true obstacles that we have to really manage in order for everything else to work. Business wise, you're going to figure things out. You're going to figure things out. Things are going to work out. You're going to get the right people, but you got to take care of yourself physically and mentally. For me, that is crucial.
Great. So we are winding down to the end, and I want you to give us any advice or tips that you have for business owners, entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs trying to fulfill their dreams and go for what they want. I know since the pandemic, a lot of people have been rethinking their stance. People have been rethinking where they are, whether it be in their jobs or their careers or family wise. And we've seen a lot of birth of new entrepreneurs and business owners. So what are the advice that from your experience and knowledge that you would give to these people?
Absolutely right. The first thing is to create a plan. At Bccelerator, we focus as a business writer, business plan writer. It's important to write down your idea, your concept. You have to test out your concept to see if it's a business concept. It's critical for you to realize the difference between a hobby and a business. And then even from that perspective, are you now an opportunity to build the resources needed in order for you to grow? You cannot do it on your own. So after you test out your idea and you have your business concept, think about the resources as you have your business concept and you're testing out, you're doing your product testing, your service testing. Figure out exactly what resources you need and get those people involved. Stop being selfish with your 100% of zero, okay? Get the people involved. Give up that equity. It is okay because you know the right people to bring in. It doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect all the time, but bringing like-minded people who trust and who believe in the vision that you have forth. The other aspect of it is be consistent. You got to be consistent. I'm so happy about things that I see recently, how people are really just taking one step at a time, but they're consistent in what they're doing. Momentum is critical. Speed to market is critical as it relates to being able to get the momentum needed, but you have to be consistent. And lastly, you have to be in it to win it. I don't need to see you planning all the time. You have your plan, execute it, pause, adjust, and figure it and move forward further. But you have to be in it to win it. You cannot be in a room with other entrepreneurs if you're not at the event. You cannot be in an opportunity to talk about a partnership if you haven't done the work. You got to do the work. You got to be in the rooms, and then you have to put yourself out there. Sometimes you're going to have to take a chance and say, you know what? I don't know when I'm going to get out this opportunity, but I'll get a learning experience that's going to propel me going forward. People think that one move is going to be the final move. No, it doesn't work that way. There are steps. Everything is a part of a step. And then you get to a step, you get to a floor. And then at that floor, you're able to see where you're at and then move on to another level and you go up those steps, just like a stairwell. So you gotta be in it to win it. Have a plan, number one. Test out your product market, to have your idea, test out your product, your service. Be consistent, okay? Have momentum, and don't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid to fail in this day and age. If you're failing, it's not because you didn't do it. I mean, it's not because something happened. You failed because you didn't try. Because as you are learning about yourself and learning about what you're good at, what you're not good at, you may make the adjustments and propel yourself going forward.
Great. Those were great tips, really great advice. Another thing I learned in the past weeks, I was talking to, her name is Dr. Sandy Webster, and she was able to sell, I think it was a marketing company of 150 employees that she built and was able to sell it. And one thing she said to me is that when you are thinking about being an entrepreneur business owner, think about long term and also document your processes, document what you do. Because if you don't have those and at one point you want to sell, how are you going to sell if it's not documented? So that's definitely something that is to think about, as well as to, as you go through the process, you need to make sure that you're documenting everything.
And what you said was definitely on point, because now that company, if that person, if they didn't have those documents, if they didn't have the numbers, if they have their finances, they have those documented, the person say, well, I don't really know if I want to pay you that amount of money. No, I'll give you a quarter on a dollar. So those are very, very critical. So even as emphasis, just practice documenting your spending, to practice documenting the work that you've done, your intervals. Because I would even tell you this, as when you talk about management consulting, you got to know your worth in terms of how much you work per hour. If you're just working, you're not documented. Everyone has a cell phone. You can document how long it takes you to write a business plan, how long it takes you to do a podcast. So when someone asks you, what's your fee? And you say, I have to get back to you, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
You should know your fee. My fee is $350 an hour. Okay. And this is what you're going to get. This is how long it's going to take me to get this thing out to you. Be realistic. You know your resources. You don't have to like get back to someone. So what you're saying is on point. You got to be in it to win it. Document it, record, and go after it. Go after it. Go after it.
And that is where we're going to end, guys. Document it, go after it. Just go after it. Thank you so much, Mr. Norville Barrington, for coming through to the Network Hour podcast and imparting some of your knowledge and experience and expertise to our listeners. And what I'm going to end with, I'm going to say, don't be afraid to fail. That is one thing. Don't be afraid to try. And you might surprise yourself when you get out there and you start doing these things. So go out, get it, do it, all of that good stuff.
Exactly. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Molly. Congratulations to you and your success.
Thank you so much. This has been another episode of the Network Hour podcast. And I would want to say to you guys, go out there, live, love, and laugh, and remember to take care of yourself. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.